Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to those in the gallery and those joining us online for the FBDC meeting of June the 16th. I'd like to welcome Councillor Cowan to do the acknowledgement of country.
Jonga Council acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as First Peoples of the country. We also acknowledge them as traditional owners and custodians across various lands. We pay our respect to their ancestors, elders, children and young people. We acknowledge the strength and resilience of all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and recognise their continuous connections to lands, waters and communities across the country.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. Agenda item 2 is apologies and requests to attend by electronic means. I'd like to note that Councillor Seymour has an apology tonight. We've got Councillor Hall requested to attend by electronic means. Just under the governance rules, need to put that to a vote. The request to attend the FBDC meeting by electronic means be approved. The mover, the seconder, all those in favour, that's carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Hall. Agenda item 3 is the Good Governance Pledge. Councillor Aldridge has volunteered to read that.
Wodonga councillors have committed to undertake the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interests of the municipal community, abide by the Model Councillor Code of Conduct and uphold the standards of conduct set out in the Model Councillor Code of Conduct, faithfully and impartially carry out and exercise the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in the Office of Councillor under the Local Government Act 2020 and any other act to the best of their skill and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. Agenda item 4 is declaration by councillors of any conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest? Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. Just noting a conflict of interest regarding business.
Yeah,
as a member of business
organisation.
Thank you. That's noted, Councillor Aldridge. Any other conflicts of interest? None. Agenda item 5 is confirmation of minutes from the previous meeting. There's a recommendation there before us. Could I have the mover for that recommendation? Councillor Knight, the seconder. Councillor Aldridge, all those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Which now leads us to agenda item 6.1, which is the community feedback on the draft 2025-26 budget. Draft financial plan 25-20 to 2035 and draft revenue and rating plan 2025 to 2029. If I could just make the comment, we've got a number of submitters speaking to us today in the gallery. Councillors, in accordance with Rule 77 of the meeting procedure rules, approval has been given for 3 persons to address the FBDC regarding the draft budget, financial plan and revenue and rating plan. The order of speakers is Pedro Afonso, Chairman of the Murray United Football Club, Mr. Charles Mitchell and Ms. Jodie O'Connell. Welcome to all 3 speakers. Each speaker has up to 5 minutes to speak and comments should relate to their written submission. There is no opportunity to question councillors. Once the speaker has finished, councillors will have the opportunity to ask questions if they wish to clarify any matter raised. So get that being the case, if I could invite Pedro Afonso up as the first speaker. Thank you. Welcome, Pedro. We're with you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor and councillors for providing me the opportunity to speak. My name is Pedro Afonso and I'm the chairman of the Murray United Football Club, a National Premier League soccer club based at Barrandoodle Fields and a key contributor to the original Barrandoodle Fields plan. Following my budget submission to the budget, I'm here tonight to request the Wodonga Council that it considers bringing forward and allocating the $150,000 in the 25-26 year to continue with the Barrandoodle Fields Stage 2 Master Plan. This comes off the back of a significant growth in local Victorian and national soccer participation and further planning being needed to accommodate this shift in growth. The Australian Sports Commission has recently confirmed that the most popular outdoor team sport in Australia is soccer. With 1.9 million participants, with AFL at 528,000 participants and rugby at 530 participants. The growth of soccer in the Wodonga Council area was at 1,648 participants in 2024, compared to 850 participants in 2018, a growth of 94% over the last 6 years. That's Football Victoria data reference. The growth of soccer in the Albury Council area was at 1,956 participants in 2024, compared to 1,652 participants in 23, a growth of 18.4%, data from the Albury Council. The key areas and reasons that master planning stage 2 should occur in the 25-26 budget include, but not limited to, the 2 fields at Barranduda Field Soccer Complex are already heavily used, and our high performance football club will experience significant growth in 26 with the potential reintroduction of senior teams into the club. We will outgrow that facility of 2 fields within 3 years. Our data over the last 3 years, season 2024, 112 members, season 25, 187 members, and season 2026, with a condition of senior teams re-entry of 265 members. I asked for consultation with user groups and strategies for further grants and funding, analyse the economic value and benefits of a further developed significant and high performance facility that is capable of hosting regular and major events. And I'll footnote that with the recent success of the Football Victoria Championships that was held less than 2 weeks ago, that brought $2.5 million into the economy. The Barranduda Fields complex is positioned and identified as a significant regional, state and federal sporting complex located between Melbourne and Sydney, and it must be capable of hosting regular and major sporting events with anchor tenants and partners. A further consultation and agreement should occur with the Albury Council on 2 Cities, 1 Community initiatives to avoid duplication of major sporting facilities, and a constant review on what local, state and federal grants and funding is available, including its key sports and partners in the community. I'll also add the sport and rec strategy adopted by Wodonga Council and Albury Council in May 23, performed by Ross Planning Recreation Open Space Sports Specialist, highlights. A combined AFL cricket oval reserve capacity in Albury Wodonga has 20 facilities, compared to 9 soccer facilities in Albury Wodonga. The demand. There is a current deficit on soccer fields in Albury Wodonga, and this is expected to increase on the current participation growth rates. The current soccer field shortage in Albury Wodonga is -5. On the current trends, by 2036, we'll be 14 soccer fields short. There are no synthetic artificial soccer fields in Albury Wodonga, contrary to our regional counterparts of Shepparton, Ballarat, Bendigo and Geelong. New facilities. To review future planned inclusions at Barranduda Fields and sports ground areas in Thaguna to ensure demand is demonstrated before facilities are developed. The priority for this is high. The Sport Recreational Strategy, page 81. As a key anchor tenant and user, we look forward to working with Wodonga Council to attract further funding and high-level sporting events to the region. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors.
Thank you very much, Pedro, and thank you for delivering that submission in the allocated time. I'd like to open that up to other councillors. So ask any questions. Pedro, anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Pedro. I just wanted to ask through the Mayor, please, about the $2.5 million economic assessment of the Victorian Championship impact, and where you came by that information so quickly. But it's great to hear.
Yeah, thank you. So that data comes from Football Victoria, and some of the key areas that injects into the economy of that value is initial spending and investment in facilities, events related to business. For example, all the hotels were booked out. I was copping calls personally to try and fit people into all sorts of places. So there were residents staying at Rutherglen, Myrtleford and out of town simply because Albury Wodonga was exhausted for accommodation for hotels. Basically, we add that calculation of adding value to the community. It's the spending, it's the visiting, the stay on. So a lot of families stayed on and went visit wineries and went to the snow and did other things. So Football Victoria has data, and it's referenced in my submission of how they calculate that. But the value is significant of these events.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. Any other questions to Pedro? Pedro, how significant do you think the close 150,000 that you're asking for us to bring forward is to securing additional funding from state and federal agencies? How critical is that, do you think?
We believe it's critical, and simply because whatever we're starting today, we're only going to see the fruit. And if I'm using the original Barranduda Field Stage 1, it'll take 5 to 6 years before there's any fruition. So I'm realistic in that regard. But in terms of urgency, as the Ross Planning report highlights, we're currently 5 soccer fields short in Albury Wodonga now, as of today. And on current trends with the Socceroos making another World Cup, the Matilda's doing really well. As you saw by the data, where you can see that it's, the growth is significant. And there's so many benefits of having kids in sport and people in sport that it reduces capacity on other areas of society, that helps reduce cost. It's great for mental health. It's great for being physically active, reducing obesity. The Australian Sports Commission has a range of data that supports that. And I believe we need to get going now, because the planning that we do now will only come to fruition in 5 to 6 years. Fortunately for us, the Football Australia's released some data on their socials, and it's a strategy on their facilities and funding, where they can come in and support through the federal government. And this being a federal site attracts Football Australia interest, along with Football Victoria and the high-level organisations. So we're very fortunate in that regard. But it's important that through council, through leadership, we begin to open those doors.
Thank you, Pedro. Any other questions? Councillor Courtney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Pedro, thank you very much for making your presentation. I really enjoyed it. I think it was well structured. You have really well articulated the need for the funding from the council, and you have explained why you need it and why the potential receipt of the grant from council and from potential federal and state government will be beneficial to local community and to Australian sports. I take it all on board. Thanks for that. My question is around the possibility and the risk, given especially the timing of 5-6 years, that receiving a significant amount of Wodonga ratepayers' money. What are the risks of falling through and not getting anything from the state and possibly from federal, despite the interest of Football Australia and the state organisation as well, given the current economic outlook and the budget situation? In simple terms, are we at risk of investing this money and not actually getting anything?
Look, that's a question I can't answer. In terms of government funding, all I can say is that this site has a regional, state and federal interest. It is the only identified region between Melbourne and Sydney. And some initial conversations I've had with Football Australia and officials is, Pedro, if the facility is available and ready, we will use it. And we saw that with Melbourne Victory recently. Unfortunately, the Barranduda Fields wasn't quite ready and the girls played at Lavington. And it's very clear that, ovals sit in Albury, rectangles sit in Wodonga. And I think that if we can start to push that narrative, I think we will have some very serious big inroads with events and tourism through soccer and sport and rectangle sports in Wodonga. So in terms of the funding commitment, it comes with, conditions that we do need to plan ahead. We do need to lobby and seek funding. But the fortunate thing for council is, through the football club and the community, we can piggyback and support the council with further funding and grants attached to any submissions. So it's not something that we're saying that council should stump up the money for. We're saying this is a collaborative arrangement. Let's open doors and begin the journey to unlock funding for stage 2.
Thank you, Pedro. No further questions? Thank you very much, Pedro.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'd like to invite Charles Mitchell up to provide his submission. Thank you. Welcome, Charles.
Thanks. Good evening, councillors, and thank you for inviting me to speak. Tonight, I put forward a practical pathway to fund the government's 3% fair go rate system announced by Nick Stakos on December 24th. Right now, more than 90% of Wodonga households are facing rises of around 4.5%, well above the state government's rate cap of 3%. The problem arises from volatile annual property valuations, coupled with council's actual fixed rate factors that were set back in 2016. If you adjust these fine rate factors annually, volatility is removed, and that sits with councillors. In other words, fine-tuning will ensure 90% of ratepayers will pay less than council's proposed 25-26 rates. At the same time, council still collects the revenue to deliver services. Fine-tuning calculations still respects the underlying wealth tax principle while ending the annual rollercoaster ride of rate spikes. I'll just refer councillors to the handout, which highlights the rate spikes across all rate categories, just down here. Yep. So you can see annually, we're getting rate spikes every year for various categories. A suggestion is that Mr. Ellerbock, who sits over there, data analysis, sits down with finance, the mayor and other interested councillors at the upcoming revenue and rating plan review to produce a model which is then put out for the community consultation. I say this because there's a level of discussion that needs to be had to fully understand the model that's proposed. But it's only a fine-tuning of the fixed rates that were established back in 2016. Wodonga Council prides itself on being a strategic community leader and adopting the fine-tuning approach would show empathy for households grappling with cost of living pressures. At the same time, this would ensure certainty, equity and compliance with Section 101C of the Local Government Act, which requires stability, predictability in the financial impact on the municipal community. Thank you for your time and I welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Councillor Crawford.
Did you want to say something?
Yes. No. I've got a question, but you had your hand up first. So you can.
Too excited. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much, Charles, for making your presentation, for taking such keen interest with our rating strategy and providing the visuals. I always appreciate the visuals. Mr. Mayor, through you, perhaps we could, we had a short discussion in the briefing prior to this meeting where our finance team staff explained to us the chief stumbling block of how our current Local Government Act works against the current model proposed. Would it be possible for me to request a staff member to repeat it in a few words, because I'm sure they will do it better than me in relating to how it's going to work?
Either Director Dina Velko or Manager of Finance Brent Quill.
One of the points that we raised in the briefing is that rates are struck under the 1989 legislation, and there is a requirement in that legislation that says that the largest differential can't be more than 4 times the smallest differential. And in the arrangement that was sent in as part of the dialogue for today's presentation, that is the case, and essentially highlighting there that there is some complexity to this that goes beyond the simple model, and that needs to be taken into consideration when looking at revenue and rating arrangements. Does that answer the question or the piece of information you were looking for?
That provides the piece of information I was looking for. Thank you. So may I further?
Yes.
Presenter?
Charles, are you aware of this stumbling block, and have you considered it? And is it possible? Do you have a response to that? And is it possible to adjust the current model? Should the council agree to invest further interest into the proposition?
That is one of the constraints that's put in to every model that's proposed, and we have well, actually. Herb, have you done any of the calculations on Wodonga at that? We have done calculations on Indigo Shire Council, and we fully comply with that that constraint. Yes, that's an upper threshold to smoothing the rate spikes. But it's still, if that level was reached, you would still gain significant opportunity for rate smoothing, which would benefit majority of ratepayers still. So yes, you can take it up to that threshold constraint, which is 4 times the level.
Thank you. May I just add that I admire your interest and persistence in this topic. I think rate capping and rate differentials and anything to do with rating is an incredibly complex topic and requires a lot of knowledge and attention. So congratulations to you and your compatriots who have helped you work on this for delivering this to us. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to, Charlie, echo Councillor Cooley's comments and very much appreciate the time you both yourself have put into this modelling.
Yep.
It has been an issue that a number of commercial property owners have raised with me since being elected regarding what they experienced last year with a significant spike in their rates as a result of the increase in property valuations. And I appreciate your proactive and positive approach to potentially contributing to solving that issue. As Councillor Cooley said, it is a very complex issue, and I as one councillor certainly welcome an opportunity for our finance team to work with you and Herb, maybe with interested councillors, to see if there's a solution without unintended consequences to this issue. Thank you. Any other questions to Charlie?
May I ask you a question, Mr. Mayor, or am I done with my question?
No, you can ask me a question, yes.
Yes, or perhaps the CEO or whoever is better qualified to answer the question. Is there an avenue for interested councillors to further explore it with the community members, including the presenter, without making a resolution at this meeting? To do so?
Through the chair, if I may, Councillor Cooley, yes, we can certainly organise a briefing where all councillors are invited and the representatives come along and demonstrate that model. We haven't got a full review programmed, but that's something we can consider post that briefing discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cooley. There are no further questions. Thank you very much, Charlie, for your answers. Thank you. That brings us to our last submitter, Jodie O'Connell. Jodie, I welcome you up to. Just before you start, though, Councillor Aldridge, we're just going to give Councillor Aldridge time to move, given her declared conflict of interest. Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. Thank you, Jodie. We're with you.
Thank you. Good evening, councillors, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here tonight not only as a proud local business owner, but also as a leadership team member of Business Wodonga. In this role, I represent a broad and diverse group of business owners who are doing their best every day to keep their doors open, support their staff, and contribute to the heartbeat of this city. Just as each of you represent the people in your relevant wards, I am here representing the voices, hopes and concerns of our business community. I want to speak plainly. Business Wodonga is a lifeline for many of us. It's where we turn for guidance, support, and connection. It's where challenges are met with collaboration and solutions. And right now, it's doing all of that with just one full-time staff member who is working above and beyond full-time hours. This is simply not sustainable. We're not actually asking for a handout. We're asking for a partnership, a funding commitment that allows Business Wodonga to do what it does best: advocate, support, connect, and help local businesses grow. Whether through mentoring, training, events, or simply connecting the right people at the right time. Business Wodonga delivers real, tangible outcomes for this city. I joined Business Wodonga because I believe in the power of business to uplift community, and I'm asking you to back that belief with the support that it deserves. An investment in Business Wodonga is an investment in the resilience and vibrancy of Wodonga itself. Please include them in your budget and help us continue building a city where business and people can truly thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Jodie. Any questions from councillors? Councillor Corky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your enduring patience. Thank you very much, Jodie, for your presentation. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank all members and submitters on behalf of Business Wodonga. We had a series of meetings and we had several conversations about the state Business Wodonga has currently found itself in. And I really appreciate receiving so much information. I will put my question in very simple layman terms. What do you think has been the main cause of Business Wodonga landing in the strife it has currently found itself in? And should you receive the money from Wodonga Council in partnership with Wodonga Council, what is your plan? What are you going to do with this money to help you achieve sustainability and continue to grow without just only relying on the subsidies?
Sure. I will best answer this as best I can, given that I'm mainly here as a business owner and I'm a new leadership member. My understanding is that we're in the strife that we are currently in due to basically not having any support from council since 2021. So all of the funding and all of the income in order to run the services and support our members have literally come from grants that we've been applied for, as well as member like fundraising and that sort of thing. So my understanding is that prior to that, when Business Wodonga did receive extra funding and support from the council, there was a lot more opportunity to support the members in further engagement and activity. As far as what we will do with the money, I believe, given that the main issue at the moment we're seeing is the lack of sustainability due to not having enough funding to allow for more like administration help. So at the moment, our CEO, who could be out there doing more member-focused work as well as applying for more grants and submissions, etc., making it more sustainable, is stuck doing that side of things. The things that, taking his time that doesn't need to necessarily be that way. The only other support that he has literally is volunteer support. So.
Thank you. So to clarify, what Business Wodonga is hoping for is an enduring partnership with Wodonga Council and regular provision of funds. rather than a one-off or two-off that will help turn things around and help achieve financial sustainability on its own long term.
Correct.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cooley. Any other councillors who'd like to ask Jodie a question? Jodie, any thoughts around what council can provide other than monetary contributions, in-kind contributions from council? I know it's been a question you've asked the CEO, but
Yeah.
in your perspective.
It would be. I guess from a partnership perspective, my mind automatically goes to like the promotion of, sharing events and that sort of thing, and potentially collaborating on events for the whole of Wodonga, given that, yes, you guys represent the residents, but a lot of them are business owners as well. So there is a collaborative opportunity there.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Any other questions? If not, Jodie, thank you very much for your submission.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, that concludes the hearing of submissions in person. We're going to invite Councillor Aldridge back, who will be able to participate in the writing of the resolution. Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. Councillors, we have a recommendation that has been prepared by management before us. Do I have a mover of that or an alternative motion? Councillor Cowan.
Thank you. I'd like to adopt the recommendation with a change to an addition number 4 to the recommendation that we request the officers review the budget process alongside the current resolution of council to review the community grants process, to provide more opportunities for community to feed into the budget process earlier, given the significant interest by community through the current budget submissions.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan is the mover. Can I ask for a seconder to that?
May I ask Councillor Cowan to read point 4 again? I request that officers
review the budget process alongside the current resolution of council to review the community grants process, to provide more opportunities for the community to feed into the budget process earlier, given the significant interest by the community through the current budget submissions.
Clear, Councillor Cooley.
Current budget submissions. Okay. Thank you.
Is there a seconder for that? No seconder? Just question around governance. Can the mayor second that? In the interest of this, I'll second the motion. Councillor Cowan, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you to the submitters, people in the audience tonight. I really want to begin by acknowledging the many residents who took the time to make submissions this year. We've had more submissions, I understand, than many past years. There were 31 submissions, and having read those submissions, I'm really heartened to hear the thoughtful and considered approach to making those submissions. There were many key themes, and I think the key themes that I identified were concerns about rate levels, concerns for the need for greater transparency in how council prioritises and allocates funding, calls for stronger focus on core services, and understandably some sort of financial reporting that was easier to understand and engage with. There was strong support and call for infrastructure investment, including upgrades to the Wodonga Tennis Centre, which I know was supported heartily by the community in the submissions. There were calls for pathways, for rural road sealing, drainage improvements, public transport access, and a permanent home for Wodonga Dog Rescue. Projects seeking support such as Barranduda Fields, as we've heard tonight, and the Wodonga Race Club were also highlighted. We had submissions and many private emails from members seeking stronger support for Business Wodonga. And also for the reinstatement of multi-year funding for arts and cultural organisations and greater leadership and accountability in environmental sustainability. So the officers reviewed all of those submissions, and I might add that those submissions were only made available to us last week, at the same time really that they were made publicly available. So look, I understand that the officers have reviewed those thoroughly, and they've come to the recommendation that there be no changes to the draft budget, the financial plan, or to the revenue rating plan, and including no additional funding for community and volunteer groups this year. And while I acknowledge the officers' detailed work and consistency in process with previous years in the way that this has been done, I'm only really reluctantly accepting that recommendation. I believe we can and we should engage with our community much earlier in the budget cycle so that the contributions and the submissions that we've heard tonight can be more carefully considered and more meaningfully shape our council's priorities into the future, not at the end of many months of budget workshops that started early this year. So I'm very much in favour, I might say, of councils financially backing local sporting and recreation groups, arts, culture, business and community groups. These organisations, I believe, can really offer enormous public value. They extend our reach. They tap into local networks. They fill gaps that council can't achieve. And they deliver great outcomes with the opportunity of volunteerism and community-driven service delivery. And that is often far more cost-effective. And while I really thank the officers for their hard work and the presenters tonight, thank you very much. I think we can do better. You know, I think we need to give greater consideration to the contributions that you've made. And most importantly, that everyone who submits feedback knows that we will do that. Your participation really is highly valued, and that's why I am adding the additional recommendation tonight of the request to review the budget process alongside the community grants so that we're looking at these calls for council funding in a holistic and more effective way.
30 seconds.
Thank you. That's my submission.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. As a second, you've said a lot there regarding the submissions. I'll be very brief. Two elements. One, why I'm supporting this is the addition of the fourth element, linking it with the current resolution on the books for council to review the community grants process as an explicit linking with the review of the budget process. Councillor Cowan, you highlighted the issue regarding the timing of these submissions in the context of adopting the budget by a statutory requirement of the 30th of June. I just think this process is very ripe for review in terms of timing of receipt of those submissions to better accommodate staff's ability to be able to comprehensively understand them and understand the implications along with councillors. So for that reason, I'll be supporting the motion. Would any other councillor like to speak to that? Councillor Aldridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really like point 4, and I do think it's very important that we do review this budget process. It just doesn't sit well with me tonight that we've had 31 responses, 31 submissions to our budget, and tonight we're determining not to make any adjustments to our draft budget. That just does not sit well with me. I think we urgently need to review the budget process. So Point 3 tonight, I won't be supporting the motion, just it's as a conscience vote. But I heavily support point 4 of having a review.
Thank you, councillor Aldridge. Councillor Quilty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And again, thank you all the submitters. Tonight is a bit of a historical milestone. First of all, we have received so many submissions that we haven't had for a while, and that really gives me joy to see so much commitment and focus from the community. And thank you very much to everybody who is not present here tonight, but who did make their budget submission. It is also a historical milestone because it is the first night ever that our Finance and Budget Delegated Committee meeting had A, attention from media, B, attendance from community. I encourage everybody, media and community, to continue to frequent our Finance and Budget Committee meetings. They are quite fun and informative. Thank you. As far as for the recommendation and the alternative recommendation that Councillor Cowan has put forward, I will not be supporting it. And the decision for me has been hard, and it was hard for the main reason for why it was hard is that it's not productive for me to just vote no. A productive thing would have been for me to put up an alternative motion saying, no, I don't want to do this, let's do that instead. But again, it's not possible because the reason I'm not supporting the option of doing nothing is for parts of the feedback, but not for other parts of the feedback from the community. The community feedback has been so versatile, and I support some of it, and I cannot in full conscience support others. So really, I would have been better off saying, let's do alternative motion instead. But one chief thing that I support in the community feedback, not one, actually there are 4 chief things, I'll try to be really quick. First of all is rates income and revenue. I continue to insist that our rate rise is very high, that we could have comfortably provided the listed services here, such as maternal child health, parks and gardens, community development, libraries, local roads, so on and so forth, without going the full cap. Secondly, differential rating. I think we've had a really good submission, and while we can't exactly follow the model proposed, I believe that this item is worth our further attention. I also would like to quote our finance team from earlier this briefing saying that the model we're currently using for rating is not perfect, but it's the best. I respectfully disagree with that. I can't come up with a better model allowed to us by legislation. However, our model is based on a capacity to pay. So we are asking people who who are able to pay, and saying, yeah, it's okay for people who can't pay not to pay. That's a little bit unequitable. Plus,
Councillor Coulter, you have time, just making you aware of the time, 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. I also support the call for making waste charges and levy more transparent, and I support the call for changing the way we charge our animal registration fees. May I just take further 5 seconds?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's a privilege. I recognize it. I also disagree with point 4. I think that the part which says along the current resolution of council to review the community grant process narrows our focus. I think it's a great idea to be able to look at the community submissions earlier. I hope that this high interest is going to continue, but I don't want to shift the focus on the request for council grants. I want to sustain the focus on all submissions, be it any part of the budget. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Quilty. Any other councillors like to speak to it? Councillor Knight.
Thank you. It has been the hardest thing I think I've ever done on this stuff is coming into this with no business experience at all, not knowing anything apart from a household budget. And then sometimes I get that wrong too. So I'm going to support this motion because I agree that we need to look at the community submissions process a lot earlier. And we already have a resolution to look at the community grant. So I think that should be a process done together and sorted out so we can give everybody due time and diligence to hear your feedback and actually process it properly. It's very, very hard to process it in the limited time frame that we have under the legislation. It has to be done by the 30th of June. Is that right? Yeah. 30th of June. So which doesn't leave us a lot of time to redo the budget altogether. There's a lot of reasons why that we went for the full rate cap that had all been discussed in different briefings and different meetings. I would have loved to have 12 months to work all this out. I hope in the next 12 months we'll be able to be a lot better off for it. Part of that thing is that, and part of the budget is that we will hopefully have a lot more levers to pull with some of the things that are in the budget, so we don't have to hit ratepayers and businesses up for as much as what the state government says we're allowed to do. So, and I would really like to thank everyone that submitted as well, because it's amazing to see that. There's some really good submissions, and it is very, very hard to say no to people because everybody is passionate about what they do. And I congratulate every one of you for doing that. And yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at.
Thank you very much, Councillor Knight. And Councillor Hall, forgive me if I missed your hand up, your digital hand, but we're now with you. Councillor Hall.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Firstly, I'd just like to make comment about council rating differentials. I think it's a good idea to consider them annually. Doesn't mean that each year they will change, but we've done that before with large impacts, and I think the change from doing them 2 yearly to annually does create these up peaks and troughs, and I think it's worth having a look at them manually and seeing how the valuations sit and how the rate rises will affect those valuations for different categories. So I reckon that's worth having a look at. I won't be supporting the recommendation tonight. I've had my opinion pretty well out there that I don't support a 3% rate increase, but rather a 2.5% rate increase. I believe the large majority of the people out there are feeling the cost of living, and I think as a council we need to be tightening our belt as well. And you know, a lot of the costs in our budget are from recurring spending, and there are areas that we can cut back on, and I know that for a fact because I've looked at the budget and I can pull out a few things off the top of my head. So I don't want to put that added burden with the cost of the garbage and waste charges, as well as the raises in the fire service levy on top of our citizens. I think they've got enough on their plate. I think that the council, you know, in the past, you know, we've dealt with 5 to 6% rate increases, and what's happened is that's compounded every year. When you put a rise on top of that, it makes it more and more expensive. Over the last so many years, we've been trying to bring that back down, but it's still, Wodonga's still highly, highly rating council, and you know, and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of work, and it's not always, not everyone's always happy with us not unlimiting spending on everything, and you do have to say no. But I think overall, you know, I think that's the majority of the people that I've spoken to and have seen in some of the submissions, they're calling for us to tighten our belt, and without cutting services. I'm not talking about cutting services, keeping the same services, but just not you know, not overdoing the recurring spending. And you know, we've still got a pretty healthy capital works program spend in that budget. So I'll be looking at a lower
That's
rate.
3 minutes, Councillor Hall.
I've finished.
Right, thank you very much. If there are no other comments or questions, I'm going to Councillor Cowan for a right reply. Question on the motion itself, you're allowed. Is that what it is?
It's more of a question about relating to the situation that happened in our last FBDC meeting where I feel like the same thing's going to happen again.
So your question's a clarification regarding a reoccurrence of what happened in a previous meeting with a particular part of the motion not being separated out. Is that your
Correct.
question?
Yeah.
I think, Councillor Aldridge, there may be an opportunity for that if this motion as it stands fails, for that to be proposed as a, or foreshadowed as an alternative.
Motion,
Yep, so if you'd like to foreshadow that perhaps.
just to foreshadow, because I'm just concerned that my vote is going to be taken in the wrong way as per our last meeting. And I want the optics to be clear on.
Yeah.
And I just don't think this motion.
So I think I've clarified the question, Councillor Aldridge. So I'm going to move to Councillor Cowan as a right reply as the mover.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, there were a number of themes that came through the submissions about rates, spending, transparency, community facilities and infrastructure, the need for support for business and greater economic development in the area, arts, culture and events and multi-year funding, environmental sustainability and equity and inclusion and accessibility. These are all incredibly important things to our community. Not one of them would I want to say no to, quite frankly. But when I'm looking at these, I want to consider community impact and community value and value for money for our ratepayers, and I want to be able to do it in a considered and deliberate way early in the process of developing our budget. So tonight, I want those submitters to understand that this is not a vote against your proposal, not at all. This is the vote for a fair and more transparent and equitable process, which I think our amendment to the recommendation brings about. So this council has worked diligently to deliver a responsible draft budget. And I truly believe my recommendation improves the accountability. And while we might be sorry that we can't give money to all of those submitters that have come to us, I hope it provides genuine hope to the community that input will be considered genuinely and thoroughly into the future.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. That concludes the right reply. I'm going to put the motion to a vote. So all those in favour of the motion, Councillor Knight, Councillor Cowan, Councillor Goebel, all those against, Councillor Quilty, Councillor Hall, Councillor Aldridge, the motion is carried with the casting vote of the Mayor. So that's carried. Thank you very much. Agenda item 7 is the confidential business, and I understand there's none, which now then leads us to agenda item 8, which is the closure of the meeting. So I'd like to, just before doing so, thank everyone for their attendance, their submissions, those who came in online, and thank you also to the media for covering this. I'd like to declare the meeting closed at precisely 6:53 p.m. Thank you very much.